This is basically the meta build for Tarkov right now. And yeah, it's not cheap. But if you're trying to get the best performance possible in 2026 in Tarkov, this is pretty much what it looks like. Quick note, this build will be up for sale on the pyurologie Java page. Check it out if you're interested. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's get into the actual build. Starting with the CPU, we've got the 9850X3D. If you're building new, I do think it's worth going with this over the 9800X3D, given the difference in the MSRP. At like 30 bucks more, I think it's worth it. Like I showed in my comparison video, there is a small advantage in Tarkov. It's not huge, but it is there, so I think every little bit is worth it for Tarkov. For the GPU, I went with an MSI Shadow 3X 5070 Ti. This and the 9070 XT are basically the meta GPUs for this generation. Both give you access to the latest tech, will max out 1440, and can push into 4K with scaling. The 5070 Ti is a little stronger, but also more expensive. The 9070 XT is a better value, gives you similar performance for less money. For the motherboard, I'm using a Gigabyte B650M DS3H. For RAM, I've got 32 gigs here. I'm using a Team Group T-Force Delta 2x16 gigabyte kit. Ideally, you really want 64 gigs for Tarkov, and I've shown that in several comparison videos over the years, but right now that price jump between 32 and 64 is pretty big, and I almost consider it a luxury to have 64 these days. So 32 is what I'd consider meta right now as of April 2026. If you want to fully max it out, go ahead and get 64, you're gonna get better performance. Storage is a Gen 4 NVMe from ID Sonics. This is a 1TB model. Again, prices in April 2026 for storage are pretty high as well. This is a 1TB drive. If you want to go even further, you can go up to a 2TB. For the power supply, I've got an MSI MPG A850G. This is an 850 watt 80 plus gold rated model, and this is plenty for a build like this. Cooling the CPU, I've got the Darkrock DT6. This keeps temps under control without anything crazy. It matches my blacked out theme here, and I really like how it looks in this build. For the case, I was looking for a mesh style with good airflow, so I used the Superflower Zillion Direct here. You can tell it's designed with a builder in mind. Everything's convenient and easy to access. Cable management is a lot easier than usual, and overall it's just got a really clean, understated, minimal design that really fits my theme here. I'm really happy with it. For cooling, I've got a set of Superflower Mega Cool fans. It's designed to be in that elite tier with stuff like the Fantex T30s, and honestly, they're the most luxurious case fans I've ever used. For anyone trying to make a premium build, I would definitely recommend checking these out. So that's the BOM right there. Let's get it put together. Starting off with the basics, I installed the standoffs for the cooler first. Next, I dropped in the CPU and installed the RAM into slots 2 and 4. After that, I removed the M2 shield and got the drive installed. Next, I set up the power supply. Next, I plugged in the power supply cables, mounted it to the bracket that comes with the case, and installed it in the case. Then I went ahead and pre-routed the cables to make everything easier during the building process. Once all that was done, I installed the motherboard into the case and connected the 24-pin and CPU power cables. For the GPU, I removed the rear covers and dropped it into the PCIe slot, then connected the PCI cables from the PSU into the 12VH power cable. After that, I moved on to airflow. I took off the front panel, removed the fan bracket. I'm expecting this configuration to run very cool, so I opted for only 3 case fans, 2 front intake fans, and 1 rear exhaust. This case has an option to direct more airflow to the GPU by angling this platform in the case. I think that's a really cool feature, and I went ahead and took advantage of it. Then I installed the CPU cooler and connected the cooler and case fans to the motherboard. I finished up by wiring the front panel connector, the power button, USB ports, audio jack, all that stuff. And last step, I plugged it in, turned on the main power, and booted it up. And no issues here, posted first try. Once everything was built, I got Windows installed and went through the usual updates and optimization to get everything running at its best. If you want a more detailed breakdown of how I tune my systems or optimize Tarkov, I've got guides linked in the top right and in the description below. Alright, so here's how it all came together. I took the system straight into a raid on streets at 1440 using my pure 80 settings. Those are my ultra texture presets for higher end GPUs, and as you can see, we're living pretty good out here. Hovering in the 140s and higher around areas like the negotiation room and behind Tarbank. Moving around the map, everything feels smooth, the frame rate stays consistent, the lows are solid, not very many micro stutters or anything like that. Looking at the temps, the 9850X3D is sitting in the low 60s during RAID and under load, and the GPU is in the mid 50s. So thermals are really good. Overall, the system itself is basically silent. I have it on my desk behind the monitor and I can barely notice it's on. So performance here is just really solid, and more importantly, it just feels really good to play on. Streets is the hardest map to run in Tarkov, so I treat this as the floor for performance. If it's performing like this here, every other map is going to run even better. Now, the performance is awesome and everything, but the thing that's kind of crazy right now is how much the PC landscape has changed. With the whole AI boom, hardware prices have shifted a ton, and it's gotten to the point where a true meta build like this is landing somewhere around $2,500 to $3,000. And that is not cheap. So, and that's even with making some compromises. Ideally, you'd want 64 gigs of RAM for a meta build, but the price difference right now is so big for what ends up being a pretty small gain relatively. So 64 has kind of turned into more of a luxury upgrade. Same thing with storage. 2 terabytes is probably ideal, but prices are high enough where 1 terabyte just makes more sense for most people. So as you saw, I went with 32 gigs and 1 terabyte for this build. Still performs great, but if you really want to max everything out, those are the areas you can push further. Anyways, this is how I'd recommend putting together a meta PC for Tarkov as of April 2026. If you're interested in this one, I'll have this build up on the pyurologie Java page. So if you don't feel like putting something like this together yourself, that's always an option too. If this video helped you make a purchase decision, please consider using the affiliate links down below. That really helps support the channel and lets me keep putting out this kind of content. Tarkov is a really tough game to benchmark, and I've always done my best to get the most accurate info out there for you guys. So if you like what I'm doing, feel free to drop a like and sub for more Tarkov content like this. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.